Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. Welcome to the Empire of Dirt. Now, you might wonder what we're doing here this evening. So, I'm going to tell you. But first of all, have a seat, get yourself comfy, maybe get some snacks, dunno, cold snack, beverage, etc. Whatever you want. Before I do any of all of that, I'm going to tell you a little story about my grandfather. My grandfather was an MOT tester for many, many years, worked in the same garage, and that was after he retired, but you know, that's how it rolls. Now, this would have been back when, at a time, and I'm not going to disclose how much time, but let's just say the vehicles, a lot of them were Austin Rovers. So, not even Rovers, Austin Rovers. A particular friend of mine had just purchased a rather interesting Metro. And this was the type of Metro, and we did, you know, we hinted that he might want to have a look at a few more, and you know, and that 500 quid might be £450 too much for it, and yeah. Anyway, he bought the car. It had electric windows, and honest to God, electric windows back then and on a Metro meant that you were the dog's nuts. Anyway, I digress. So this car come up for an MOT, can't remember how long he'd had it, and he'd taken it down to my grandfather's garage, who duly obliged, got it over the pit and started checking it all over, and it was a lot of umming and ahhing and sucking air past teeth and what have you. Now, back in the day when, you know, the MOT testers were used to getting a face full of crap every time they looked up, they used to carry little hammers with them, which were like little rubber things, rubber hammers with an aluminium handle, and they were Rosa sanctioned pieces of equipment, and I'll put a picture somewhere round here. Anyway, so he had one of these hammers, and he duly started knocking things like the sills, and you tap this thing, and you know. And the thing is, but it is obviously with a fitter and an MOT tester of considerable experience at that point. He knew exactly what was going to occur with this car, and he tapped round and what have you, and he got to the front, and I think that me and my mate were stood sort of. I can't remember whether I was in the pit or what, but we were stood sort of there, and he got up to the front valance and he started tapping it, and of course the sound immediately changed from a nice tunk 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 to a thunk thunk, and at which point he turned the little hammer thing round and shoved the hammer up in the front valance and continued all the way down the width of the car, at which point everything fell out. So I think we had newspaper, rags, absolutely everything was stuffed, cardboard, the whole lot, filler, everything stuffed up in there where this valance had been. Anyway, I believe that we sorted it out, we welded it up, and we got it welded up. It wasn't, but it was the old experience of him just going and running this thing down the thing, and I was like, well, how did you know? He said, well, the thing is, you wouldn't have known unless you'd have actually gone and poked it, right? And the thing is that was structural as well, you know, but you wouldn't have known unless you actually go and poked it, and that's a kind of what I'm getting at now. Now, I think the kicker about that story was, and the sort of crowning glory of it was, is I think that my mate was handed a dustpan and brush as well and told to go and clean his car up. Anyway, why did I bring that up? Because you might notice there's no back on this, and there's no bed, and there's no liner and everything else, and that's because yesterday I decided to take it all apart and clean it up, because I thought, oh, it's been on there a year or two now, and it's leaked a bit of water down the back, and I thought I'd better take it off and just check everything's okay. Just check. right? Because we got a bit of a leak and I wanted to fix that. I got some tape and a few other bits and pieces, and I thought, yeah, it'd be a good idea to sort that. Just check it all over and everything else. And when I bought the truck, it was Raptor lined and everything else. Well, I say Raptor lined, somebody chucked a can of crap over it badly. Didn't prep it or anything, so it's all peeling off. That's another story. So anyway, so I took it all off and had a look, and I noticed there was a bit of bubbling. I thought, well, that wasn't there 6 months ago. It's a bit odd. I thought, yeah. So anyway, leading back to the thing, I poked it. And as a result of me poking it, this is what we ended up with. Now, this is a problem. Whilst rust in the bed of a truck like this, which is a frame on, it's a body on frame, isn't necessarily a problem for MOT. It's not, you know, it does obviously have longer term, you know. Part of the reason I bought this particular vehicle is because it was, should we say, all right. The frame is excellent in it, and I thought the tub was as well. Normally they go really bad around the rear quarter and everything else, and I was surprised. And this isn't, I had one previously that did this, and it's odd because it's just gone in patches. Everything else is quite it's quite strong. However, we are looking at a bit of tin worm here. Now, there's a couple of ways of looking at this, and there's a couple of ways that we could deal with it. The first way would be to take this whole tub off and replace it. Problem with that is, one, it's expensive, two, it's very time consuming, and not the easiest thing in the world, because there are wires and all those loads of things. It's not, you know, out of the way. It's not a game changer. Anyway, so there's that. Getting one as well that isn't rotten is like, you know, but because these are, you know, and you won't get a new one. The second option would be take the tub off as well and repair this one all nicely, all seamlessly, and cutting bits out and whatever. That isn't a bad idea. However, that is also extremely time consuming. It would be quite, well, it's not a feat. However, going back to the story about the Hammer and the Metro and everything else, and my grandfather, I know that when you take these, because the runner for this is, I think, that side, and generally they're pretty good, but after you've sheared about 3/4 of the bolts off and you found something else is rotten in there, it becomes an issue, and that would be like going down a rabbit hole. The third option would be that we patch this up as is, because let's face it, no one's going to see this. It's a truck bed. It's supposed to be used. It's supposed to be, you know, and as long as it's not leaking water up, and we've got another couple of years to deal with, you know, because let's face it, this isn't intended to last for the next 25. It's not a classic, right? It is a working vehicle, so we can patch this up, and I'm inclined to go that way because, you know, that's more of what a guy does. Now, patching it up whilst it's up here and everything else does also have a few issues, because that bit, fairly easy. Now, I could cut all that out here nicely, right, and make a nice new piece and what have you. Yeah, make a nice new piece, and sort of, yeah, cut all that back and seamlessly integrate the, I'm going to stop that now, seamlessly integrate a nice little piece into there. I could do that, no problem, yeah. Or I could just weld a plate over the top of it, because no one's going to see it anyway. And then from underneath, use a bit of polyurethane sealer to sort that out, because here's the thing, you see, it's got rust in it. I weld this pit here in 6 months' time, this will be rotten and it'll work its way down. There is nothing I can do about that. I can, as you can see, I've already treated where this was going to be and everything else, and I've chucked some treatment on that to kill that off, and I'll put some more of that on, right? But I'm leaning towards, I think just putting a patch, cutting it back a bit, putting a patch over it and welding it up to the good stuff. I think that's where we are with this, because we can be here a long time. And the truth of the matter is as well, is I need to use this truck badly. I've got a job for it, so this is kind of where we are. And all that there is solid, and what I'm thinking of just pinning a piece here and weld and cutting a piece to fit, cutting a bit out here, because all of that's solid. We've got all that, right, and crimping that off and just welding a piece down there. This bit's going to be a bit more difficult, because, yeah, I haven't decided what to do with this yet. What I've got to do is get this up in the air a bit. It's a good thing we've now got a tool for that. Get this up in the air a bit, and I've got to get the wheel arches off and have a look at it from the other side. So that's what we're going to do next. So, apart from the damage that obviously occurred at some point, you might scrape the door getting in you. Yes. So, like that it is. Believe it or not, this is the better side. I'm gonna hit this with a cheap poker, clean it all down a bit. Try and get rid of some of the areas where the water's hiding. And you can see hit it with some rust converter and slather a lot in polyurethane. That though, that up there, what I'm planning on doing is cutting a bit of this out, grinding all this down to the metal, and pretty much welding a sheet over the whole lot of it. I could cut it, interface it, you know, slot it in, tie it all down properly. I could even repair this so you never see it, but that would take 4 or 5 times as long, easily. I just don't have that amount of time at the moment. It's not it's going to have a look at the other side. So that's a bit concerning, because I'll be honest with you, I don't have a way of really, well, I do, but I can make pieces to weld into this, which is to a certain extent what I'm going to have to do, but from the outside of it, it's not going to, I'm not cutting this out to replace it with a shaped piece, because hours. This is pretty much detached itself from there. Well, that's all fairly solid, but this is a concern. Now, same as the other side, what I'm thinking here is to hit with a patch down there. I haven't decided what to do about that. And this is literally going to be pinned there and hammered into shape out to about there, because everything on there is fine. Because the other thing, the rest is in it. It's eating itself alive. There's nothing going to stop that. And in 2 years' time, it'll be, it'll have dissolved to the point where it won't be any, you know, but who says the truck's going to last that long in that sense? Yeah, unless I get the offer of a really nice bed come up, you know, but at the moment I don't, so I'm going to weld some patches over these so I can go on using the truck safely and usefully over the next, I don't know, couple of weeks. What I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to get this, now we've got this into a certain place, I'm going to get this back down. I'm going to draw out what I need to draw out on these. I'm going to grind everything back first on the top, some of it underneath, and we'll go from there with it. Now, I'm not going to cut much of this back out. I'm just not, because it's still structurable, structurable, and it will be treated with tannic acid. I will cut out this bit by here, however, to maintain a lot of what would be your old, you know, I am actually just going to weld a plate over that and polyurethane it after I've treated it, polyurethane it from the underside. The underside is still fairly solid, apart from that one spot there. Now, it's difficult to tell whether this has been from water or galvanic or what, and it's but I think I'm just going to weld a plate over it and I've done with it. What do you eat when you can't find tools? These are not my nice pair. I got a nice pair somewhere. Okay. Meh. Oh, these are terrible. Absolutely terrible. I had a really nice pair here somewhere. Right, so alright. Now I've got to extricate the welder from the other side of this. Should have done that before we sorted all this out. I have been asked what welder I use and what settings I use after the last lot of welding I did. The welder is a Murex 130. Vintage, yes. This particular welder, it does have pulse on it, but it's broke. It's never really worked, and I'll be honest. Somebody said, "What setting do you normally use for sort of sheet steel and what have you?" And how many amps do you use on like an exhaust, and it's quite simple. The answer is 2. 2 for the thin stuff, 3 for the thick stuff. I occasionally tweak the tweak the wire feed up as well, depending on what I'm doing. But other than that, it's all good. I've been meaning to fix the pulse on it as well, but she's a good old girl, and she's done some good work. And I won't have any bad words said about her. Right, let's get a tack down here. Oh, great. Let's see about that. Gas. Better. Hammer time. And for the purposes of today's exercise, we have a selection of Tonya's. This one, which I just like, I call it the Tim Robbins. And this one, wow, it's just nice and handy. You focused? Well, another day. We did some welding. It turned out to be reasonably difficult finding something to actually weld to, because it's like paper thin, some of this. I got a nice big strip. I got to tidy that bit up there, and I got to put a nice big strip in by there. Unfortunately, seemed to be a bit short of raw materials, which is unusual. I've normally got a bit of steel hanging around, but I don't for some reason at the moment. Can't remember why this is off. Some sort of machine. It's a bit heavy duty, and the problem is with when you weld stuff this thin to stuff this thick, so I'm not sure what to do about this yet. Anyway, we've got a bit of tidying up to do as well, because honestly, and this is why a lot of places don't do welding anymore and don't bother with it, because of the mess it makes. It's everywhere. It's dreadful. It's not proportional to what you do. It is really awful. So I'm going to have another round to see if I got another sheet of steel here anyway. I got to tidy that bit up over there, which I probably won't film. I'm just going to do it, because then you can't see what a mess it was, and it just looks better when I show you the end result. you know, Instagram. But other than that, I've got a bit of cutting out to do here. I'm going to try and get the majority of the welding done tonight, because stuff's got to move. And the thing is, with it is I found some lovely polyurethane, cheap ass tiger seal, good stuff this. And I've also found a couple of cans of stone chip proper stuff that I didn't think we had. So yes. I knew I had some somewhere. Obviously, as you can see, it's in peak condition here. And I'm hoping, because this is fairly heavy duty as well, I think this is 1.2. I don't ask me what gauge that is in 18th century speak. But yeah, I'm hoping that this thing here will have the guts. It's a bit, seen better days, this thing. But yeah, we're going to give this a go now. The straight edge. The straight edge here. Oh, that'll do. Straight enough. Seen better days. Oh. Right. Right. I've got this running the wrong way. Bloody hell. No wonder it didn't make sense. That's better. Right. Oh, yes. Oh, Christ. Right, okay. Oh, it's got the chops. I think I might have had my money's worth out of that, although I have to be perfectly honest with you, these discs are terrible. Power, we need power. Ah, you git. We need to protect that pipe first. What have we got? What have we got? What have we got? Ah, I knew I had more than one here. Right, here we go, I need that one. Right, so we... I hate this. This helmet's terrible. One tack there. Where did you pop? There, obviously. The last place I wanted to go. Ah, really? And we haven't burnt the glove, so nothing's been damaged. So we've done a bit of tacking. This one's going to be difficult, especially round by here, because up underneath there is where the pipe is, the filler pipe, and the filler pipe comes there. Now it's covered and protected, but I'm only going to be able to spot weld, and I'll have to seal it up with some polyurethane. But yeah, this is yeah, we better drag some heat into it now. There's lots of fun, you know, why don't you step inside? There's lots of things for you to see and do. All these little things that make up all these parts of me. Why don't you find a little piece of me? Now, anyone says, in my opinion, I'll grind a bit of this back and have another go. It's a waste of resource to bead all of it, simply because it just isn't. It's not a structural piece, and it's going to be sealed from the other side anyway. So I'm more than happy with this. A lot of this will be ground back anyway. The reason I'm going to have to grind a lot of it's just a better job. I don't know what's going on up here. This couldn't have been any cleaner. But anyway, so just a bit more. I'm stuck between the devil and the deepest. Just old. But I know that I'm still by myself. Right, I'm going to box that off for now. There's some seal around there, because there isn't a lot else I can do with it. Stuff's too thin to bloody... Oh. But at least it's on there. Now, where are we going to stick this? We're going to have a nice... It's alright, that.